All right, everybody. It's Dennis Schiraldi. It's a Friday, and as people start to log in, we're going to get things kind of started a little bit slower today, but we are live, and this is the DOYO Live Marketing Show. I'm your host, Dennis Schiraldi, founder of DOYO Live, the only digital marketing and interactive design conference in Youngstown, Ohio. Last year, over 200 people attended our event, plus 7 sponsors this year. We're looking to potentially double that number. We brought in some world-class speakers last year, such as Joe Polizzi. 90% of the speakers were from Youngstown, Ohio, and it was a really fun, awesome day and event. We don't just do that one time per year. We churn out content consistently throughout the year, really trying to live the Content Inc. model that Joe Polizzi presented on. So it's been an awesome week. If you're just getting it now, thanks so much for joining me. Exciting time in Ohio. Leaves are changing. I've got a full couple day, maybe weekend full of yard work to get to. Tribe is in the World Series. That's pretty awesome. If you're dialing in, very exciting. It's been a good week. Tribe winning the first game of the World Series. The Cubs took one back, and then we've got an exciting weekend of baseball for the Fall Classic. So who knows where it's all going to shake out. I've got my own thoughts. I'm trying to be very optimistic about the fact that I do think that the Cleveland Indians will be the world champions. But there's one thing that they're missing, like the Cavs, the greatest basketball player on the face of the earth. So we'll see. Should be a good 5-game series left. And if you've got Corey Kluber going at least one more, if not 2 more times, you've got a heck of a shot to win. So anyway, Dennis Schiraldi here, DOYO Live, the live marketing show. It's dressed down, it's raw, it's real. It's good stuff. If you've got any sort of questions that you would like to ask, please go ahead and do that. Please go ahead and do that in the chat. I would love to hear from you wherever you're at in your day. Thanks so much for joining me. A lot of new stuff out on the DOYO Live website as far as content goes. There are new blogs up. Last week we held a webinar on how to get started on content marketing, so that's exciting. And we also had an email go out today. If you missed it, it's maybe because you're not subscribed to the email. But in that email, we had our call for speakers for 2017. That's very exciting stuff. And we are only opening that up at this point to our email subscriber list. So you need to go to DOYO Live. You need to subscribe to our email list. We're inviting and giving special preference to people that are subscribed to the list to speak at DOYO Live in 2017. So that said, let's get into the show. Let's start talking about a little bit about marketing. And this week, what I want to talk to you about is social selling. Very exciting topic. So I guess the first thing is, it's kind of like a buzzword. Hasn't selling always been social? I think that it has been. Typically, in any sort of environment that you're looking at, most of your salespeople are very outgoing, outspoken. They like to communicate. It's part of the job. But when we're talking about social selling, we're not talking about the social aspect of me being able to communicate and articulate value propositions, uncover your pain points, establish the relationship, show you the value, challenge you a little bit, provide you with the solution. It has nothing to do with those aspects of the selling process. This all social selling comes from being able to actually get the meetings. So because of the advent of the internet, we've introduced this topic called social selling. And the way that people in the sales environment, in the sales world, have always believed that they're going to get meetings, get introductions. The referral-based business is obviously huge. Anytime a customer of yours or a client or a prospect can tell you or refer you to another customer, it's a very powerful word of mouth marketing tool. The second best friend, or maybe the first best friend of any salesperson, has always been the phone. That's how we measure, engage, activity with the total amount of phone calls that you can make in a given day, in a given week. And we simply look at that from a conversion perspective. When I got my career started in sales, I could make 100 phone calls in a week, probably talk with 30, 40 people because the world was a lot less busy then. You had email, you had some people coming into your office, and you had that dinosaur known as the fax machine. But for the most part, people were able to pick up the phone, and if you're able to say something engaging and compelling to get their attention, you'd be able to then have a somewhat meaningful conversation. So in that particular instance, then you'd be able to set up time to go play golf with 10, 15 people over the next month and spend 4 or 5 hours with them. But the world became so busy, and the advent of social media and all these distractions in the workplace and so many people trying to get to these individuals that it became more and more difficult in order to be able to do to get those meetings. So now I can call 100 people in a week, and I might talk to 5 people, count them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So when we get into talking about why I talk with 5 people, all of a sudden now 3 of those people pick up the phone, and I'm actually surprised on my end that they actually picked up the phone. And the reason I'm surprised is because of the fact that like they're like, oh, you caught me at my desk, and I don't even know what to say because you call so many people in this day and age. So what I like to do, and everybody in sales always wants to have some sort of context going into the conversation, meaning that if you have something that you have an understanding about the individual, their preferences, their likes, their dislikes, their favorite sports team, it's an opportunity to build some relationship. And what social media has given us is it gives us an opportunity to peer into a person's world so we have context when we start to reach out and have communication with that individual. From a sales perspective, it's very difficult to know where you spend your time. Any organization that you work with might give you a list of maybe 500, 1,000, 2,000, 5,000 people. And I kind of liken it to the artist and the person that's going to sculpt a piece of granite. When somebody sculpts a piece of granite into a beautiful statue, what they do is they don't necessarily create the sculpture by sculpting it. They actually think that they see the statue inside the block of granite or marble, and then they chip away from that to pull out the sculpture. And it's kind of a reverse thinking methodology. And that's the same thing from a sales perspective, is that you want to be able to establish what the statue is inside and chip away at it so you could spend your time wisely. Nobody wants to sit down and make 1,000 phone calls in a week to 1,000 people that have no interest. But what we do want to do is we want to call 100 people on that list that might have some sort of engagement and activity. And the way that you could go about doing that, number one, through social media, it's a great way to be able to find buying signals. So going on LinkedIn, Twitter, yes, Facebook. I know that most B2B people think that, at the end of the day, Facebook's not this great place to be hanging out when it comes to a sales methodology. But if you think about it, in every B2B sale, there's a human being on the other end of that equation that's making that buying decision. So what we look for are buying clues, people that potentially are shopping around, people that might be engaging with you. Those sorts of clues are very important. The other type of clues that are important is to see what types of preferences people like. Do they like to hang out at certain restaurants? Do they like a certain type of food? Do they like a certain type of beer, music? Whatever those things are, those are going to be contextual clues about things that you can utilize to relate to individuals in your sales process. The other thing you can do is that you can look for company information. Maybe there's a huge acquisition that was just made. Maybe an individual from the organization, maybe they just got a new CEO. Any publicly traded company will release their earnings per share, stock prices, quarterly results, and you can listen into those. And not only can you listen into those, but then you could utilize that in your follow-up with individuals in order to be able to grab their attention. So you're trying to grab some context because of the fact that so many people are so exposed online, and so many companies' information is exposed online as well. So that's a really important feature. The other aspect of social selling, and we talked a little bit about it last week, is people minimizing awareness building. And one of the things that you can't do from a sales perspective is call somebody like every day. That creates I'm going to hide from you behind the counter. I don't want to see you. I don't want to talk to you because you're here every day and you're calling me every day. And it becomes like, you never just want to become that person that you just become a pain in somebody's butt because every time you call them, you're trying to get and want something from them. So a more passive approach in the sales process of when you're trying to either get somebody's attention or you're trying to get maybe a little bit of a response back from them. And I do this all the time. I will go out for people that I'm prospecting and I will like, share, and comment on any one of their posts across Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram. And I'm doing that very specifically because when I do that, it gives them a reminder in their mind that I'm still alive. And oftentimes what will happen if I've reached out to somebody via phone and email and I end up liking a post later in the week, they actually feel obligated, and I'll oftentimes receive an email back saying, I'm not ignoring you, I'm not forgetting about you, or I maybe did forget about you, and thanks for, liking my post, and I will get back to you on a certain answer. So that's really important in the social selling aspect. Are people, are businesses that are posting information and interacting with their content in a way that's positive. I mean, you think about the Willy Wonka effect on Twitter. Twitter's such a noisy micro place, but we know exactly when somebody retweets, replies, or favorites one of our tweets because it's become so noisy that it actually really grabs your attention when that happens. Instagram's a huge place for engagement. A lot of people that are liking the post, but not a lot of people that are commenting the post. So if you really want to differentiate yourself, company that you're prospecting, to go ahead and do that. One of the things that I would love to do, by the way, as we go down through this, make this a little bit more interactive. There are some questions that are coming through. Please go ahead and register your questions into the Facebook chat. I'll do what I can to pause and answer some questions. So Joe, thanks so much for asking the question, and thank you so much for being here today. I really appreciate you taking the time. How much is too much when interacting with prospects on social media? It's just like the phone and like the email. You can't call somebody every day, and you cannot like, share, and comment on every post. So you have to be judicious about that. I don't know if there's a right or if there's a wrong answer. But I would tell you this, that if you end up in a situation where you start to notice that you're getting unfollowed and you're losing followers, it's probably means that there's a sign that it's too much. I tend to think that like a post or two a week on 1 to 2 mediums is probably the appropriate amount, and that's what works for me. Some other ways, depending on where you're at in your sales funnel and what your relationship is to that individual, might dictate where it's more or whether it's less. Next question comes in from Caleb. Caleb, thanks again for being here today. Really appreciate it. It also sounds like it would be good PR to send out emails and go to like people's posts. So yeah, I think that's reasonable. I think that you can send out an email and then kind of immediately follow that up kind of quickly with that. So let's talk about email. First thing that you can do is that you can hop on to HubSpot. Grab something called Signals. This is a really cool tool. It's you get 250 emails for free each month. Here's what I really like about HubSpot Signals is that you can attach this to Outlook, Gmail. So most of the email is basically taken care of. Most of your emails are taken care of, right? So what HubSpot Signals is going to give you the opportunity to do, and there's a couple different tools that are out there in this space. It lets you know without applying a read receipt to an email of when somebody has opened your email on the other end. That's a huge, huge important factor when it comes to social selling and basically the sales process. Before we would send out an email, it would be a blind email, and then you would send out 10, 15, 20 emails in a day, and then you probably would go back down through your list and look for look for those individuals with a phone call. Now, HubSpot Signals will tell you when the individual at that point in time has opened your email, that means that's the timely time, if that's even a word, timely time to make a phone call to that individual. So you see that it pops, you get the notification, so-and-so has opened my email, and now I'm going to place a call because I know that they're an attentive audience. 75% of the people that are opening my emails today, I know are opening them from a mobile device. So I know that when I place that timely phone call and they're opening it, it's going to go. It increases the odds. It's not a magic bullet, but it does increase the odds of the fact that somebody's obviously paying attention. The other thing that I do from an email solicitation perspective is that I will reach out in my email, always end the sentence with a call to action. One of the reasons why I'm on the internet and I'm looking for buying signals or I'm looking for contextual clues is because a lot of times what I will do is I will grab the link from that story and I will reference it in that email. I won't just put a dirty link in though, I will hyperlink it. And what I'm trying to accomplish is to show them that I'm paying attention to them and their business, but not in that like creepy kind of way. I give them kind of like the soft stroke to say, hey, congratulations, I see that your company just outperformed, quarterly earnings. Or I saw that your organization just won the pizza cook-off contest and, something along those lines that's in the context and not in a stalker kind of way. Pause there for a second. Sorry, I got to be appropriately caffeinated to deliver these Facebook Lives. So when we talk about then, we apply the link. That's why we're out there listening on social media. The other thing is that the individual themselves might be giving away some interesting, they might be having a great day at work. They may have just gotten a promotion. They may have just lost their job. And that's a great time to reach out to somebody to say, is there anything that I can do to help you with your next opportunity? Is there anybody in my network that I can help you with? Because that's a great time. You are not asking them for something, you're helping them. And when they get into that next role, they're going to remember that you helped them with that particular time in their life. There's also times where I will mention in a series of emails previous emails that I've sent. So just to remind people that, in a friendly, passive-aggressive way, that last week I sent you an email regarding X, and this week I just wanted to build upon that to let you know that our company, and you put that in there, and always end it with a call to action, whether it's, would you be interested in grabbing coffee in the next week or two? Would you be interested in a 15-minute phone conversation? Whatever that's going to be, end it with a call to action. Sometimes what I'll do, everybody wants to be living in the C-suite. We want to be selling in the C-suite, but the C-suite's a very busy place to get to. Sometimes you don't always need to be with the final in the C-suite to get a decision made. Whoever ultimately is going to end up signing that PO or making that decision to move things forward, obviously that's where you want to be living. But sometimes there's a manager involved that is that I will CC on an email to see if I can help to leverage that, to have them influence them to take the meeting. So that's never actually a bad tactic to take. And then if I've left a phone message, I will let them know in the email, hey, I just left you a voicemail and I wanted to follow up and summarize that with a quick email to you. I hope that you're having a great day. So I will do things like that. The next one is coordinating between marketing and sales and coordinating a mass email campaign. This is another great way. The emails that we're talking about up to this point were one-on-one engagements. The next one we're talking about is coordinating mass email campaigns, utilizing Constant Contact or MailChimp, and really taking the analytics from those email campaigns to establish a behavior within the audience that your company may have in a database. So if a company has a database of, say, 5,000 people, you don't want your highly compensated salespeople spending time, because prospecting and selling and giving value propositions are two totally different things. So what I mean by that is that if you can send out a series of emails and start to establish a pattern of people that have opened emails out of that 5,000, now all of a sudden, let's just say that the average open rate of emails in that campaign is 10,000 or 10%. So now you've taken 5,000, let me get my hands on camera here, 5,000 people, and you've shrunk it down and you found the statue in the piece of marble. And it's now 500. And that's a much more manageable audience. And not only that, if they've opened a series of emails, maybe 1, maybe 2, maybe 5, then you work from that email list and you use that big data set to shrink it down to 500. And if people have opened up a succession of, say, 2, 3, 5, 7 emails, and that's 10% of the audience, then there's going to be much more awareness to your business, to your brand, and there should be a lot more context to the conversation. As I disseminate those out to my sales organization, from a salesperson perspective, you should do some investigative background on the individuals before you just start blindly making phone calls to say, hey, I saw that you've opened the past 5 emails. You should go back down through your methodology and check their LinkedIn profile to see their current role, their previous roles, the companies that they've worked with, the people that you may have in common. You'd be surprised of how many contacts, the degrees of separation would have gone from 7 down to like 2, maybe 3. And so therefore you may have some people to reference as well. The next one is that you may have marketing automation software. And if that's the case, then you can begin to build out the behavior profile, start to score that information based upon opens, click-throughs, and the amount of visits that come to your website as well, because IP addresses are grabbed in most marketing automation software and they're anonymized, but once they become anonymized, non-anonymized data, you then get the person's information and you can score that information. So I'm going to pause there and take a question. Again, Donnie, appreciate you dropping by today. Thanks so much, man. It means a lot to us. And I know that you came to DOYO last year as well. And, last year, DOYO Live 2016. So thank you for being a fan, and thanks for being here today. Recommendations on data mining for new email lists. So the way that I interpret that question, and number one, is procuring an email list. That's always a difficult task. The number one way to procure an email list is through content marketing efforts to drive interesting, engaging, compelling content and get people to subscribe. That's a long haul play. That's a 6 to 9 to 12 to 18 months to start to be able to churn out content that's interesting enough that people will want to register and sign up to get sent to their inbox. It comes in from cross promotion, taking a valuable, interesting piece of content and pushing it out through all your social media channels, and in obviously utilizing that strategy. Opt-in does take forever, but I will tell you the value of the opt-in over a course of time. What's important about that is that the engagement, open, and click-through rates are very significant and outperform against purchase lists. The second way to go about do that is mine your data that's in your existing systems. Most organizations at this point have data in the CRM solution, or they have a Salesforce that may have a database, and take that data and do some list cleaning, hygiene, shape that up, and then populate that back into your CRM, populate that into your email your email service provider, whether that's a Constant Contact or a MailChimp. So as you mine that data, clean that. More than likely for Can-Am spam logs, you're going to need to give some sort of notification, the fact of how you came across this information. Remind those individuals that at one point they were at a trade show, or they were at an event, or they showed an interest in your organization, your company, through sales, marketing, and in day-to-day business, or they were a former prospect or client. And then that gives you the opportunity to be able to utilize that data. Make sure that you've got an opportunity for those individuals to opt out as well. Mine your data in LinkedIn. Extract your database into a CSV file. Have individuals that are within your organization extract that data, get clean data into one master cleansed list as well, and then obviously upload and populate that and remind people too that at one point that you were a connection on LinkedIn. I have 2,500 people that I'm connected to on LinkedIn. That's a very robust list of individuals that I have since utilized in my email marketing strategy. A third way to go about building out a list rather quickly is that you can actually look for your partnerships, look for organizations like DOYO Live, or that are in more specifically in your a part of your trade organization, whether it's healthcare, whether it's manufacturing, and try and partner up with them in some capacity, either for some sponsored content or give an opportunity to give that information. The other is obviously subscribing, and you mentioned that data.com. You could also go to Hoover's, and both of these lists have robust databases of information. Most trade organizations give you an opportunity to be able to grab databases. So purchase list completely, it's an acceptable and well, it's been around for a long time, put it that way. But there is specific language that those organizations utilize that say that they're very delicate with it. And they say that that these lists, cannot be used against Can-Am Spam Law Acts for marketing solicitation purposes. And you must acknowledge the fact that if you're going to use it in that capacity, that you basically give people an opportunity to opt out and where you got the information to opt in. I will tell you that MailChimp has heightened their security on just mass dumping populated lists into their system. Constant Contact seems to be a little bit more liberal. There's tons of different ways that you can. That are email service providers that are out there. I have as well gone through and just had an intern mine data on public websites in a certain audience. It's a slow, painful process, but very quickly we were able to identify like 300 to 500 emails of individuals from simply looking at websites. So kind of an account-based target or marketing approach. So what we did is we said, okay, we want to try and get connected with a couple of retail organizations. So let's go mine data on American Eagle, Dick's Sporting Goods, and Westinghouse. Those are three big businesses, and if we can identify and try and grab those email address, then that's something that we absolutely have done. So again, thanks everybody for being here today. This is the DOYO Live Marketing Show. I'm the founder of DOYO Live, Dennis Schiraldi. And one thing I want to tell you about real quickly, we've got two sponsors that have come in, benefactors of DOYO Live. So number one, Juggerbot 3D Printing. They are a Youngstown business incubator portfolio company, and they specialize in making a 3D printer. We're just really starting to get their marketing strategy going as well. And the other is Ray Cashmere and Associates Insurance. They're located in Boardman, Ohio. They provide all types of health insurance opportunities for you, individual and small and large group plans. And if you go to Ray Cashmere's Facebook site, it's actually up on our DOYO Live Facebook page right now. You can actually opt in to a Facebook contest on an Ohio State Buckeye giveaway. It's a very exciting little contest that we've been running. And that contest is going to end tonight at midnight. And so that's actually the next topic that we are going to talk about. Very cool contest. So I was a little bit anti, I guess, contest on social media because I've been burned by a few in the past. And what I noticed through the course of marketing DOYO Live, we did a handful of Instagram contests, and that went pretty well. We gave away books in return for people tagging individuals, following, but it's very difficult to manage these social media contests. So there are a handful of applications that are out there. You can very easily go to Google and type in Facebook apps, and you'll very quickly get a blog that has 10 of the best social media contest apps. Hootsuite is an application that we utilize to syndicate and listen to social media and prospect and mine data. So what's interesting is that they just recently launched a campaigns element that gives you the opportunity within, if you're a Facebook, if you are a Hootsuite customer, you can actually leverage the platform within Hootsuite to now run contests on social media and Facebook. And it's really cool. I really love it because of the fact that when you run a contest, you obviously got to have, number one, an interesting giveaway, right? So something that somebody's going to want. From a marketing perspective, we typically give away a marketing book. Likely we'll give away tickets to DOYO Live 2017. Maybe we'll do some workshop stuff. In Ray Cashmere's case, we actually we're giving away this really cool engraved state of Ohio with the Ohio State football, Ohio State University logo in the middle, and it's all the roads in the state of Ohio. So it's a really cool thing. And the reason that we wanted to do that is because we wanted to create some awareness. So the reason we come back to, let's start with the why. Why do we want to do this contest? So we just recently started marketing the Facebook page, and we've got to create some awareness for the brand. We want to grow the page. We don't just want to throw money at the problem and say, let's pay for likes. So instead of doing that, we targeted the markets, Youngstown, all of Youngstown, so a 50-mile radius around Youngstown. Cleveland, Akron, Canton, and Columbus, Ohio are the primary markets that Ray does business. And we want simply what we wanted to do, we want to attract awareness to his Facebook page. And this Facebook contest has been absolutely amazing. So for $35, we boosted that contest. We've reached over 10,000 people. We have increased page likes by 50 since we started that campaign 2 weeks ago on October 19th. Now that's pretty amazing. If you were going to have to pay for likes on a Facebook page, you're looking at about $1 to $2 per like. So the way that we went about doing that, though, is that as people like a post on Facebook in general, which generally now in this day and age has obviously very limited reach, but one of the ways that you can maximize your spend on Facebook contests alone. And you don't need a third-party app, by the way. Facebook now gives you the ability within their policy guidelines to actually just run a Facebook contest. You've got to actually go into their policy and guidelines and post the fact that they're not responsible for choosing the winner, the giveaway, making sure that it gets there, that sort of thing. So you just basically can include that in your blog strategy, and that takes care of your Facebook policies. So getting back to it, though, when people like your post, you can actually mine that down and you can invite those individuals to like your page. So we've had 448 post likes on $35 worth of budget for this Facebook contest. We've had 650 engagements. We've dropped 13,000 impressions. 66 people have shared that post, 31 comments. So if any of you know anything about Facebook in this day and age and the amount of limited reach that's currently taking place with that product, this has been a highly successful campaign. So it's something that I highly encourage, I don't highly encourage. I'm very encouraged by the results that I've got, and it's made me take another look at running Facebook contests in order to be able to create better, more meaningful engagement, to grow a Facebook page, and obviously engage people. And if you keep your eyes out, we're actually going to do another contest with Ray coming up here once we close this one out tonight at midnight. So anyway, if you want a chance to win that, go there today. Like the post, like the page. Actually, you only have to even just barely like the page, and you get entered in to win the contest. So it's pretty sweet. The last thing I want to button up for today is a question that I started getting from my class at Youngstown State University, social media literacy class I teach 3 days a week. That in social media communications as well. So that's been a really fun thing that I've been doing for about the past year and a half now, and I've really enjoyed being able to go in and talk about social media marketing to college students and help them out in the direction that their career is going. So if you're on today, this is actually a Social Media Friday, so you're supposed to be here. And if you think about it, if you're not obviously in that class and you think back to your college experience, what an awesome way to get the sermon delivered on a Friday, right? I mean, we had to slog it to class back in the old days. We had to actually be present, be accountable, be there. And nowadays you could be sitting in your pajamas, eating a bowl of Cheerios, watching your professor deliver information that was going to be covered in class. So pretty cool. The question I was getting pretty much started blowing up with as of yesterday, and if you didn't see the news, it's time to cue the taps music for the social media platform known as Vine. Vine is the ability, is a really interesting platform. I really like it. I didn't use it a lot because the fact that I'm on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, YouTube, LinkedIn. I syndicate content on LinkedIn Pulse. I've got the DOYO Live website with blog content, and then I also have Medium as well. So I'm across so many different platforms and Snapchat. So with all that going on, it's very difficult for me to be able to effectively go and manage something else. And Vine is this great platform that you can make little